The Minnesota Vikings are now forced into a massive decision with one upcoming free agent they cannot afford to lose and must sign at all costs. And we take a look at the best necessary reinforcements available as the free agency choices are starting to whittle down. We're going to be breaking down all of that in this episode of Vikings Digest. But first, if you're enjoying this Vikings content, you want to stay up to date, make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell icon. You guys have been killing it over the past couple of videos, and we totally appreciate all the support. We can't wait to bring you guys more content this summer and this season. And with that, let's hop into the first topic of the day, which is extend the man. So we know that Josh Metellus is coming up on the last year of his contract and is due for an extension or a massive payday at the very least. And Alec Lewis of The Athletic was reporting the other day that last year Metellus played about 40% of his snaps at linebacker, 30% at slot corner, and 16% at safety. The rest of the time he lined up on the defensive line or out wide against elite receivers. From a compensation standpoint, what's fair? Paying Metellus like a linebacker, slot corner, or like a chess piece who can reliably play all of these positions? There is a drastic gap pay in between those various worlds. So we know that the salaries are very different, varying between the linebackers, the secondaries, the safeties, and everything in between. But Josh Metellus has been an absolute Swiss Army knife for this team, almost like the way that the Saints use Taysom Hill as a quarterback and a tight end and a running back at times on trick plays. Metellus is that defensive utility belt that Minnesota has, where they can throw him anywhere on the field, and he's able to do anyone's job, basically. You need him as an edge rusher? He's got you. You need him as a middle linebacker? He's got you. You need him as a slot corner containing a receiver on the inside? He's got you. You need him playing deep safety with Harry Smith? He's got you. He's got you covered on all sides of the ball. And the beginning of training camp presents one potential deadline. Even if it's fairly arbitrarily, Metellus does not need many practice reps to perform in Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores' defense, nor do the Vikings need to see Metellus on the field in practice to know what he can do. The conviction from both sides almost underscores their shared fit. Why would either side be willing to move on if it has as much faith as it does in one another? So this is obviously something to look into, where going into the last year of a contract, we see some players kind of like hold out. We saw that with Jamar Chase last year, and we're seeing that with Terry McLaurin as well in Washington. Hopefully this isn't the case with Josh Metellus, because he means a lot to this team, and he's at training camp, so obviously there's no signs of him holding out or anything like that. So if he's not showing any signs of that, where is Minnesota's resistance in not saying, hey, let's just pay the guy before the season starts, make sure he's taken care of, he doesn't have to play this year auditioning for other teams essentially and auditioning for us to validate paying him. Let's just pay the man what he's worth, because he's going to be worth a lot of money. And Lewis described Metellus' role as truly unique and unlike anything else, or anyone else for that matter as well. Metellus tallied 103 total tackles in 24, his second straight season, crossing the century mark. He also had 5 pass deflections, 2 interceptions coming in big moments as well, and 1 forced fumble. I think one of those interceptions as well was in that Jacksonville game too, where it was just a defensive slugfest and he came out on top. Metellus logged the 4th most defensive snaps on the team as well in 2024 per Pro Football Focus, a number that underscores how much the Vikings relied on his versatility. Again, though, that is where the things get complicated, because as we know, the players do get paid very differently, and Lewis noted that for a linebacker-esque deal, Metellus could get paid roughly $9.5 million per year, but being paid like a multi-purpose weapon that he is could yield in the high neighborhood of $14.5 million, where the Vikings have $23.5 million in cap space as of June 29th. So this is going to be a bit of a slippery slope there for Metellus, because he's going to be worth a lot of money. And you look at some of the other guys like Cam Bynum, what he got with the Colts. He got a very big bag from the Colts, and he is just a safety. So if he's getting that much from the Colts, how much will the Vikings or other teams have to pay him in order to get him to go there? With Minnesota's side of things, will he be willing to take a possible pay cut? At least early on, you don't have the contract front loaded. You have some guaranteed money or signing bonuses at the start, but for the most part, you backload that contract so that you don't have to pay a bunch until the very end, when the Vikings can kind of have a little bit more time to sort out their cap situation. It's not necessarily a thing where it's just move the goalpost back and just worry about it when you got to worry about it. No, it's push it back and deal with these problems before that becomes an even bigger problem in the future. And that's where I think Minnesota's at with Josh Metellus, because this is a guy who's been here since 2020. He was selected in the 6th round and was an absolute steal at where we got him, considering the talent that he has. He was a team captain last season, started 27 games over the past 2 seasons. However, he has appeared in all 17 games for three straight years, last missing a game in week 11 of the 2021 season. So not only is this a guy that produces, this is a guy that is healthy. This is a guy that is a captain. He is a leader on this team. We've seen the social media videos where it seems like until Brian Robinson was there, which was a pretty long time ago as far as recent years are concerning, for other Vikings fans or younger Vikings fans. For the older guys, we remember the days of Randy Moss as well, and Michael Bennett and Dante Culpepper and all that. But with Brian Robinson, when he did those social media videos in the locker room interviewing players, obviously it was that iconic moment with Stephon Diggs and Dalvin Cook and Adam Thielen. But those kind of went away when he left the team and retired. And then Josh Metellus kind of brought it back. So it goes to show that when Cam Bynum left, Josh Metellus not only is one of the leaders on this defense, he's one of the morale boosters on this entire team in the locker room. You see all over the social media where he is involved in almost every single video just because he's such a personality, and every single guy on the team absolutely loves him. Brian Flores, Kevin O'Connell, everybody has nothing but the nicest things to say about him. So what do you do if you're Minnesota? You pay the man, damn it, and you give him his money and what he is worth, because this defense without him would be a massive hole that is left in that void. But let us know what you guys think down in the comments below. Would you pay Metellus even if it costs $14.5 million a year? Let us know down in the comments below. But that's going to take us into our second topic of the day, which is necessary reinforcements, coming from an article on Sporting News that in light of the Jalen Ramsey blockbuster trade, here are 5 cornerback options for the Vikings, from Stephon Gilmore to Asante Samuel Jr. If you guys saw me in the intro video, gave you a little bit of a tease of what was to come in this topic for this video. But stepping into the list right away, you got Stephon Gilmore. Obviously, he played with the Vikings last year. Shaq Griffin now with the Seahawks. Gilmore jumps to the top of the list. It's possible Gilmore's camp has been in contact with Minnesota's front office throughout the offseason. We haven't heard too many reports, but just that it could be a possibility. He signed with Minnesota in mid-August last summer, and that timeline would make sense for the 34-year-old to sit out a majority of camp but still arrive to ramp up and be ready to contribute come week 1. It's not the sexiest solution, but it's probably the most likely. I would definitely agree with this as being the most likely to happen, just because he has that familiarity with the team. He is a vet. We kind of saw it with the Aaron Rodgers situation where he wanted to just wait until mini camps or things were done where he didn't have to do as much. It makes sense if you're a veteran, especially at 34 years old. If you're Stephon Gilmore, you're going into the last maybe year of your career, maybe 2 years. So you want to make sure that you can stay as healthy as you can for as long as you can. Stay conditioned off the practice field and make sure that you can just be ready to go on game day in week 1. But now we move on to the second person, which is who I would say is who I would most want Minnesota to go after, as Vikings fans have been patiently waiting for Samuel to sign since the calendar flipped to June, but he surprisingly remains among the best free agent corners available. The chance to add a former second-round pick with a strong athletic bloodline. Samuel's father, of course, played for the Patriots during Flores' tenure with Belichick and Foxborough. On a cheap prove-it contract for 2025 would prove a strong move for Minnesota. Samuel Jr. has 6 interceptions, 30 pass breakups, and 176 total tackles in 4 pro seasons. So the guy brings a decent amount of production, and honestly, when free agency started, I thought he was going to get taken off the board pretty quickly. I thought either some team was going to snatch him up, or when Minnesota started passing on Cam Bynum and started paying Byron Murphy, I thought for sure we were going to see him come off the board, because I was the guy that I was even surprised the Chargers didn't extend, because A, you got legacy, of course, and then you have the production that he was able to bring with that many tackles and the pass breakups that he has. He's a pretty solid corner, and Minnesota, that would fit perfectly with that, and as well as obviously the familiarity that Flores has with Samuel's dad, having coached him in Foxborough. But still, within that, I think there's a lot of intangibles that Samuel brings to this defense where he would be a perfect fit and wouldn't be as old as Stephon Gilmore as well. Because Stephon Gilmore, he's getting up there in age, 34. He doesn't have that many years left, like I was saying. So then you pivot to the younger option with Samuel. I think that would be a much better fit for this Vikings defense. And then on to the third one was Greg Newsome from the Cleveland Browns. If you guys saw one of our last videos, there was a report that came out that the Vikings could be interested on him. And there was another report that was speculative from CBS Sports that recently named the Vikings as an ideal landing spot for Newsome. It's hard to argue the on-field fit, as Newsome projects an upgrade over Jeff Okudah for the slot corner role. Problem here is that Newsome's $13.3 million fifth-year option that's fully guaranteed for 2025. If the Vikings like Newsome, they're more than likely to wait and try to sign him outright in 2026 than they are to give up draft capital now just to inherit the hefty final year of his rookie deal. But if Minnesota feels there's work to do at the nickel spot coming out of camp and the Browns are looking to shed some salary, Newsome becomes a logical target. Obviously, Newsome does bring a lot of potential to this team. He's a guy that I would have really liked to see become a Minnesota Viking at the end of next year, because that is a very big price tag to pay, and you only have $23.5 million. So with the first topic that we were talking about with Josh Metellus, he's due for a big bag. That is a guy that you extend mid-season so that you make sure that there's no even question about it being a narrative heading into the end of the season. With a guy like this is someone that you can afford to wait on until the Browns pay him that $13.3 million, let them fit the bill, and then you go and you give him a nice offer on the next season when 2026 that opens up in that spring, and you go and you get him out the first chance that you can and get him on a fairly team-friendly deal, because who's to say that he's not going to perform like a $13 million player this year, might perform like a $2 million player, might perform like a $4 million player. Who knows how he's going to perform, and that's what Minnesota is also probably wanting to see. And then rounding out the list are the bottom two that I honestly wouldn't really consider, but they're on this list as well that were included in the article. And that being Jack Jones and Rasul Douglas. Starting with Jack Jones, the gifted but troubled cornerback was a Bill Belichick draft pick, drawing natural comparisons to Flores' scheme. The on-field talent is undeniable, as Jones has 7 interceptions and 4 defensive touchdowns in just 41 games. The issues, of course, are off the field, as a weapons charge that was later dropped led to him being cut by the Patriots, and some questionable effort at times left him in hot water during his short term with the Raiders. We all know how that went. Minnesota is about as solid as it gets when it comes to locker room culture, and if the no-nonsense Flores can keep Jones focused on football, he could be an underrated target and a potential veteran minimum signing. As much as that could be appealing, no. Stay away. This is a team that has an amazing football culture. You do not want to taint that with any outside noise that the media will try and create out of it. Just stay away from it at all costs, even if the player is ready to do it. I think this is a scenario where the reputation and the reward that's involved with it is not worth the risk. And then moving on to Rasul Douglas, multiple analysts have linked Douglas to Minnesota as a potential fit, as a now 8-year veteran has a strong reputation for being sticky in coverage. He had a down year in Buffalo in 24, which is likely why he's still available, but if the Vikings ultimately pass on re-signing Gilmore, the 29-year-old Douglas could be the next best thing as a safe, low-cost, high-upside addition with 19 career interceptions, 400 tackles, 70 pass breakups. Douglas figures to find a new home before the end of training camp. Minnesota is nice that time of year. And at 29, there's still a decent amount of upside with Rasul Douglas. However, we did see a massive drop-off when he went to Buffalo, and it didn't really help his stock value at all. We talked about him a few months ago as being a potential fit once free agency started, and you guys in the comments, there was a lot of reactions saying absolutely avoid it. Kirk was also saying avoid it. I was saying avoid it. It just seems like this is a guy where his best years are unfortunately behind him, and he's coming up on the wrong side of that 28, 29-year-old age curve that there is when it comes to corners and just NFL players in general. But overall on this list, who is a guy that you guys would like to see? Is it Gilmore? Is it Samuel? Is it waiting for Newsome? Is it just riding with the guys that we have? Do you think that we're fine the way we are? Let us know what you guys have to say about it down in the comments below. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you don't miss the updates. We'll be back at it tomorrow with another video, bringing you guys videos, trying to get you guys a video every single day of the week this week. So stay tuned for all the Vikings content that we're going to have as we get closer to the start of training camp. But that's going to do it for this episode of Vikings Digest. I've been your host, Griffin. Take care.